Well, this past week, 45 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And he was assassinated not at a rally for voting rights, which is what he's most known for, or for equal rights in the private sector in the South, but actually for workers' rights, which was also an issue tied up with race. It was a strike by the sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee. He stood with those workers. And today, labor unions across the country honor Martin Luther King by remembering that his legacy was not just about the sort of traditional and equally important and equally basic civil rights of voting and equal opportunity and use of restaurants and public spaces, but also about the issue of workers' rights to organize and the ability of workers to move their way up. And the fact of the matter is that it is a civil rights issue because so many of people of color prior to the 1960s and 70s were excluded from labor unions and were excluded from good jobs and were prohibited from receiving those jobs. And once they did enter those markets and were allowed to join those jobs, they had catching up to do. They needed the opportunity to pull themselves up the way all other workers did. Dana, I have to ask, you're a longtime resident of Washington, D.C., which until recently was a majority African-American city. You were born and raised here. Do you think that we forget that sort of the mainstream media forgets Martin Luther King's legacy of fighting for workers' rights and social democracy?
I do. I think that there's been that mostly the fights for workers' rights has been downplayed in the media and in history classrooms and in just sort of general knowledge about civil rights and economics rights struggles, that it's not something that we place a high premium on as a driver of our nation's prosperity, but it should be something that we focus on, that is something that benefits the country and helps, and it is an important part of keeping the American dream alive and making sure that America continues to be a prosperous country in the future and one that reaches out to all workers and all people and all races.